Hello my fairies, it is so good to be back after a 3-year YouTube hiatus, and I am back and ready to connect with y'all again. So today's project is a fun one. I will be showing you how to make this little sexy sleek backless dress, perfect for the fall. I do have this hood that I made with my upcycled version here, as you can see, and I will show you how to make the hood as well. This is what it looked like before. Yeah, not very cute. So a little backstory on this dress. One of my regular clients actually commissioned this piece for a special event, so I will be first showing you how I made her dress, the original version, but then at the end of the video I'll show you how I upcycled it and turned it from this really confusing dress to the final product. So this design is very special to me, and I am so happy that I get to share with you guys. So for the first time ever, I am selling this pattern and you'll be able to print it at home. Check the link below to purchase and download this pattern in AO or US letter size. Once you have the pattern printed out, it is time to cut it. So first I'm going to just cut the pattern out of the paper. This is actually a relatively easy pattern to sew. There are only 3 pieces, a front, a back, and a collar. There's a lengthen and shorten line here where the knee curve is, and I just measured 2 inches above and 2 inches below. I don't recommend shortening it more than 2 inches, but it's your preference. And then all I did was I lined up this line with that line. That is what it looks like after shortening it. And then of course if you wanted to lengthen it, it would just be the opposite. So you would just... Not me ripping the original pattern, that's crazy. So you just put in another piece of paper underneath here and then lengthen it however much you need. Obviously use a ruler and then tape it, and then you would just kind of retrace this curvature over here with either a curved ruler or even a regular ruler. I highly recommend checking the center front length of the dress and comparing it to how long you want your dress to be. For me, I am on the shorter side. I'm about 5 foot even. So I took exactly 2 inches off of this dress and it fit me perfectly. I wanted to be able to wear it like with flats. So this pattern only works with fabric that is stretchy. So definitely find yourself a nice, comfortable, stretchy fabric. This one is a 4-way stretch, but this can also work with just a 2-way stretch. I would just make sure to lay the pattern piece out to where you can still stretch the fabric horizontally. What I've been liking to do lately is tracing the pattern piece with a piece of chalk or fabric marker. I find this to be a lot more accurate and just easier. So I trace the entire thing with chalk and then I cut it out. This is me cutting the front out, and then I just put it on my mannequin to just kind of see what it looked like, and then I cut the back out. I use these pink power electric scissors. I love them so much. They save me so much time. For the original dress, I did cut lining out because I didn't want it to be see-through at all. For the upcycle dress I made, I actually did not include lining because of the fact that the print was so busy. If you don't include lining, just beware that you may have raw edges or you may need to fold your edges in. So for both the front and the back, you want to double up on fabric if you are creating lining. And this is going to be cut on fold. So make sure you fold the fabric and then line up the straight edge of your pattern to the fold and cut. Do not cut that straight end of your pattern because you will be cutting your dress in half. The next step would be connecting the fabric to the lining. I actually use the same fabric for the lining, so they look exactly the same. But if you wanted to use a different type of fabric, I would just kind of be aware of what fabric you're choosing. Make sure it also has that same stretch. Make sure the stretch is going the same way. Here I am just lining up the 2 back pieces and the 2 front pieces, and then I am pinning it like so around the armhole. I used my serger to sew the edges that I just pinned. You can either use a serger or a zigzag stitch here, it doesn't matter. So once I got done stitching everything, I flipped the fabric inside out so it now creates this nice seamless effect, and I did the same thing for the front and the back. If you want, once you flip it inside out, you can go ahead and steam those edges or iron them on a really low setting. And then now I am just lining up the sides, starting at the top of the back going all the way down. This took a long time, and then I stitched the sides together. Fabric is face to face. The next step is creating the collar, so I cut it and then I folded the collar in half, stitched it at the bottom hem, and then I used this little thing to flip it inside out. I will link that thing in the description below, but you can also just use a safety pin. Then I just sewed the collar to the top of the neckline. When you sew the collar, just make sure not to stretch the fabric or distort it in any way, and I just try to line up that back seam to like the back of where the neck would be. So I realized I didn't record how I made the back straps. I'm just gonna use this bikini video that I made, and I just made the straps the same exact way. So I cut out 2 rectangular strips that are approximately 1 by 20 inches. Lengthen or shorten this at your discretion. It just depends how long you want these back straps to be. And then it's basically going to be the same way you made the collar. So you just fold it in half and then zigzag or serge the raw edge. You would use the loop turner to turn it right side out. There are many tutorials on how to use a loop turner or a safety pin to do this here on YouTube. So I attached the straps to where the front and the back connect under the armhole. So you can either just sew this directly on or sandwich it between the lining and the main fabric. And so this is the final product. I did add a charm chain to the back just because that's the design that me and the client agreed on. So now I'm going to show y'all how I upcycled this dress out of another dress. This was actually a lot more complicated to do. So if you're doing this at home, just beware. Just took everything apart, cut them at the seams, and laid them all flat on my floor because I didn't have enough room on my desk. Because of the fact that there was limited fabric and it was just such odd shapes, I actually had to add a seam down the middle. So instead of cutting it on a fold, I had to cut it off the fold. And so in order to do that, I added a 1/2 inch seam allowance to that flat area. I just cut all my pieces out and stitched them all together, similar to how I did in the beginning, except I did not do any lining. And I think it turned out actually pretty well without the lining. So this is how I made the hood. I had this extra fabric and it almost looked like a triangle, but not quite. So I cut it into more of a triangle shape. And then I put it on my head, kind of like a bandana, and literally just stitched those 2 little corners in the front together. And this, I kind of just like eyeballed this part really, but I used pins to kind of pin it in place while it was already on my head, and it was very simple. I just added like 2 really small stitches there. So this is the final product. Again, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was super fun. As I said before, my upcycled piece actually has a seam down the middle on both the front and the back. But because of the fact that it's a printed design and it's super busy, you can't really tell unless you look super, super closely. But the hood is completely removable. I didn't want to make it attached because I love the dress just on its own too. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you did make this at home, please tag me. I want to see y'all's creations. Until next time, love you. Bye.